She was offered guaranteed acceptance into one of the most elite schools in the country.
Tonight, the story of a USC student who turned down the ringleader of the college admissions scandal. See It Live starts now.
Tonight, we have an exclusive interview with USC's Vice President of Admissions and Planning.
Madeline Ottolie is outside the admissions office where acceptance letters for the class of 2023 went out today.
Thanks, guys. I'm standing here outside of the admissions office in Campus Center, and yes, those decisions were mailed out today. However, questions still remain about how those decisions are actually being made. Now, this week on Monday, Katharine Harrington, the Vice President of University Admissions, met with Annenberg faculty. In that meeting, she announced that 2% of applicants are actually flagged during the admissions process. Now, that's something that can be used for, the children of faculty, staff, and members of the Board of Trustees, among other things. However, today, in an interview with Annenberg Media, we asked her about that. She gave a very different answer.
Like most other institutions of our kind, if we have someone who has asked us to make sure that someone who is special to them, someone that we are aware of, is in the applicant pool, we simply make a note of that. But those indications of interest are not related to the admission decision-making process.
Now, in that same meeting, Harrington also discussed the average GPA for incoming students for athletes. It was a 3.5, she said, and for the general pool, she said it was a 3.9. Now, one faculty member took issue with those numbers. He said they could be grossly inflated. He's been studying that discrepancy for decades. One of the reasons he suggested is that some athletic teams could recruit a student who later just spends the whole season on the bench. It could also be just differences across the board when you compare different teams. Now, we asked Harrington today about the relationship between athletics and the admissions committee, and here's what she had to say to that.
There's not a lot I can say about that right now because there is an ongoing federal investigation, and that is something that we're cooperating very closely with the federal FBI and the rest of the feds on that, and because there is also what will be a very thorough internal investigation going on.
Now, USC is in the middle of a national college admissions scandal in which dozens of parents are accused of bribing officials at universities across the country to get their kids into school. USC has said that 6 students in this year's applicant pool were denied admission for believed involvement in that scandal. It said that current students believed to be involved have been notified that their status as a student here is under review. Reporting live from Campus Center, Madeline Ottolie, Annenberg TV News.
Thanks, Madeline. For one current student, the admissions scandal sheds light on the dark reality of the college application process. We spoke with a female undergrad whose family was approached by Rick Singer and his private college counseling company, The Key. She asked us to conceal her identity and alter her voice to protect her family.
I had a family friend who referred a college counselor she knew about to my mom. My mom shows him my grades. He goes, "Oh, these aren't going to get her in. These aren't going to get her into Ivies. Does she do athletics?" And my mom says, "No, she's not athletic at all, really." I had really wanted to go to Stanford at this point, and he said, "It's fine. We can get her into Stanford." He seemed confident that he had the talent as a counselor to get me into Stanford. I said, "I don't really feel like I'm going to get into Stanford anyways, and I don't think this guy's going to be a miracle worker. If I'm going to do it, I'll do it on my own." I didn't contact him at all. I know there were a couple phone conversations between him and my mom, one discussing the fact that he thought he could get me into schools, and the second one was my mom informing him that we would not ultimately be using him, and that was that. I don't think that me or either of my parents really saw any red flags in the moment, and that's not why we denied him. I think we just were people who were, caught in a conversation with this guy who ultimately ended up being extremely unethical. And we avoided it without even knowing what was going on or what he was doing. I'm just glad that it wasn't me who actually ended up dealing with him. Stay ethical. Your integrity is worth so much more than getting into a school just to say you got into a school. And I think it's important for parents to know that too.
Although the student did not use the key services, the recent charges filed against Singer are reminders of the seriousness of the crimes committed. Annenberg Media's Tanvi Varma has more on the charges brought forward in this cheating scan.
Susie, I spent hours poring over the 200-page affidavit from the FBI. Of all the elite schools named in the admissions scandal, USC had the most people indicted. 21 individuals total. The alleged mastermind is William Rick Singer, who owned the Edge College and Career Network. The FBI says he created an elaborate scam to help wealthy families get their kids into top colleges. Singer is charged with racketeering, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice, taking in $25 million in bribes, according to officials. As you may know, Full House actress Lori Loughlin was among the prominent figures charged, but we also learned of 16 other USC parents, including an associate professor, 2 business owners, 2 presidents of companies, 5 executives, and 6 CEOs. 3 USC coaches and a senior associate athletic director were also named in the affidavit. The university has fired 2 of them. Here's a look at their names and faces. Water polo coach Johan Vavic and athletic director Donna Heinel were fired, while Laura Janke and elite coach Rasheen are both former employees. The sports that allegedly had fake recruits include water polo, women's basketball, crew, football, and track and field. Many questions remain about the alleged scam, including whether some students involved were even aware of their parents' actions. In the affidavit, it's clear that some students had no knowledge of what their parents were doing. At this time, no charges have been brought against any USC students.
Thanks, Tanvi. 50 people have been indicted in the current admissions scandal for various charges ranging from mail fraud to obstruction of justice. An attorney and USC adjunct professor predicts that not everyone involved will get jail time.
So the people that are involved in the putting the fraud together and most importantly, financially benefiting, they will certainly do prison time. The harder question are the customers, are the parents, because the parents, remember, are not doing this for financial gain. So that you don't have the typical greed factor that we have in white-collar cases. They are doing it for a misguided reason, but still a salutary reason. And there's going to be a lot of sympathy for their situation, and almost all of them, certainly the ones that I've heard about here in California, are otherwise upright citizens. They're doing good things in their communities, they're good people, they've led flawless lives, so strong cases will be made to the sentencing judges that they should be put on probation. There'll be a significant fine, but in all likelihood there will be a number of people who will get what we call straight probation, which is no.
We spoke with USC students about their thoughts on the scandal. Many say they're not surprised and believe the admissions process has historically favored the elite and wealthy.
Initially, I wasn't too surprised because I figure it happens often, but when I read more into the story on like how they hired or they paid like one of the coaches off, I thought that was like taking it way too far, especially because this is a school that like really values its not only its honesty first of all, but also its like athletics program.
I was pretty shocked, and I never actually imagined this could happen because I thought it should be like just like a moral status thing.
But seeing that some people utilize or like manipulate the policy available to let in students who are like kids of celebrities, this really like disrupts the good reputation.
Honestly, I wasn't that shocked because I know it happens a lot. I think it's completely unfair. I think people with like higher class with more money, they already have an unfair advantage just because we have the access to like ACT tutors where so many people don't.
The admissions process is definitely unfair because it skews towards people who already have money, and it doesn't do enough to increase accessibility for education for everyone.
The USC admissions scandal calls to question the legitimacy of other private academic consulting firms. ATVN's Charlotte Kim met with a USC student who used one of these college counseling services, which are legal but now face more scrutiny.
USC sophomore James Kwok knew how competitive the college admissions process was, so he turned to elite prep.
I got college help starting junior year because that's when I started prepping for SAT and college essays. Initially it was my parents, but the closer I got to college, the more I realized the necessity of it.
College counseling firms recruit parents of students as young as freshman year. Some of the services they offer include advising time, extracurricular planning, interview coaching, and essay and supplemental editing.
Getting into the college of your dreams is big business for college counseling services. Companies sell packages ranging from $3,000 up to $12,000. Some packages include unlimited email access and organizing campus visits.
One high school counselor turned admission consultant attests to the growing nature of the business.
As a high school counselor, I did help students through the college application process, but a lot of the stuff that we did was just kind of putting out fires. And that goes to why private counselors are essentially needed today.
Another admissions consultant believes this cheating scandal has put the college process under a microscope.
The vast majority of college counselors, and certainly all the ones that I know, help their students get in through legal means. But I think it's led to a lot of parents questioning the legitimacy of different companies. I know since the scandal came out, I've gotten a few questions about whether I'm involved in the scandal and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think it's good that, parents and students become more educated consumers. Right?
Students like James believe that college counseling services are worth it. For Annenberg Media, I'm Charlotte Kim.
Thanks, Charlotte. The admissions process is growing more selective, adding to the stress students and parents feel when applying to college. But why is there so much pressure? We spoke to a psychologist who thinks it's due to income inequality.
I think as the gap between the richest and poorest has grown with income inequality, that has propelled even more of that sense of larger pool of people kind of squabbling over a smaller pool of resources. And so it fuels a lot of uncertainty and competition among parents and within families as well. A lot of middle and working class families already feel like the system is rigged, and this kind of scandal just reinforces that.
Because of the increasing selectivity of admissions, Saxby says she's not surprised a scandal of this magnitude could happen. Susie?
Thanks, Anwar. USC's new president will have to deal with a cheating scandal. Carol Folt most recently led the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Yesterday, she talked with Annenberg Media about how she plans to tackle USC's current issues.
So when I was at UNC, the thing that impressed me the most was that the faculty came together. They created 70 reforms. It was done in this shared way, and I think that was what's so wonderful. It wasn't about eliminating athletics. It was about doing it right so that people could get what they needed and deserved out of it. So I think that's where I'd start, is trying to work with what we know but hold ourselves to a standard. So when I look at the problems each have faced, or the problems that we're facing here, I look at them as another challenge. And I'm a scientist. You try to get the data, you try to understand, you go out and listen to people, and then what you do is you try to figure out how to solve problems. But that has been
While at UNC, Folt had experience dealing with school scandals. She responded by leading initiatives that focused on integrity and accountability. We spoke with a UNC student to get his thoughts on Folt's reforms there.
I think she did the best that she could given her position. We have a very, very liberal student body, but we're still inherently a Southern school. So a lot of our donors are typically of upper class and have more conservative beliefs. So it was Carol Folt's position to be the liaison between these two groups. And her problem was she kept on running into issues that polarized either side.
Check out Annenberg Media for the latest updates on the college admissions scandal.
And to catch our show, you can check us out on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com.
Thanks for watching See It Live from everyone here at Annenberg Media. I'm Arlissa Norman.
And I'm Susie Plascencia.
And I'm Anwar Stetson. Good night.